Welcome to Rauta's one of these weird videos. This is not as an opinion videos as so much as a kind of a storytelling moment or memoirs of a sort of a fan about Satyricon. This Norwegian black metal band has been on our videos a couple of times before. First of all, there was this kind of a discography slash history video about my thoughts about Satyricon during its over 25 years of career as a black metal band, how they have evolved or maybe devolved during the years. And this was made before Deep Call It Upon Deep actual review video got out. So both of these videos got quite a bit of negative feedback as well as lots of kind of opinions this way or that way, but also a lot of funny stories about how Satyricon as a band has been online and also how they behave on social media and on videos and whatnot. So I kind of started this conversation on this Rauta YouTube page both after these videos, because these comments were really funny and they actually reminded me of how funny band Satyricon is for being a black metal band. Now there are many stories which I don't even remember anymore, but let's put it this way. There is only one band in the world I have discussed so many times, haven't heard so many stories before a black metal indoors festival as Satyricon is. There is so many stories that people who have been, playing gigs with them, who have been organizing gigs with them, people who have been, playing with them, met with them, and all that stuff. That only this kind of band has some kind of weird magic around them. That it so happens that these kind of stories occurs only with certain types of bands, and I don't know any other bands such as Satyricon where this kind of stories happen. Anyway, there are lots of stories, like I said, which I don't remember, so I'm trying to put up a little bit of stories which I remember throughout the years. First of all, I've been following this band for almost as long as they existed. Not since like 1992 or like that, but soon after. And so my first gig was 1997, and too bad I don't have any more that long sleeve I used to. But the point is, I'm not trying to slander or like disrespect Satyricon. It's just like one of those funny bands in a way of being a black metal band. So this all started when one of those comments told me there was some video clips mentioned about underneath those two videos, which kind of has some hilarious moments. So I'm not going to like recap them here. You can, if you want to, you can find those links below those very comments on these two Satyricon videos, Deep Call It Upon Deep review, as well as the Satyricon's Fall from Grace video. So if you want to check out, please do that. Also, one video I couldn't anymore find, which I thought at the time was pretty hilarious. There was Satyr of Satyricon actually, doing some warm-up in a professional football player or sorts, doing his like, what is it called, a treadmill bike, but the kind of a warm-up bike, and a backstage area was combing basically his hair. And at least my experience in playing a band and hanging out in the backstage, it's usually like talking with your friends, drinking maybe beers, getting warm up for the gig in a sense of, I don't know, guitar players, shredding the guitar riffs, and drummers going, like warming up moves where they just by blasting really hard and all that stuff. But I found it kind of funny that the guy who is maybe the front of the band, who is not basically doing anything else but vocals and moshing and a little bit of talking between the songs, were basically like, I gotta keep myself in the shape, and I got to comb my hair and all that stuff. no, that we of course understand the the sports, being part of your healthy lifestyle and all that stuff. But still, being a black metal band, just combing your hair and doing some kind of biking on the backstage just seems so absurd in my mind. Well, I'm not judging. To whoever, to each his own. And one of the stories which I actually remember guys, playing with Satyricon as in some sort of festival or maybe a random gig, I'm not sure about that, but it doesn't matter in the story, was that Satyr had been reading sort of a book about leadership, leading in a band. And he was basically, just quoting lines like how to, lead a band as if opposed to leading a big company or I don't know an army or whatever. And this was some like eyebrow thing, like what the hell is going on around here? Yeah, we know he's the band. There's like these two band members, like outside live performances. Frost as the drummer, who is basically always in terms of ranking in the band, he's always the number two. And then there's Satyr, the Mr. Big Boss. And everybody basically knows that it's his band. It's not Frost and Sutter being equal, even though that might be the idea how they are showing the band to the audience. And or if you read the interviews, you might get that impression. But basically, everybody who knows anything about Satyricon, we know that it's not like that. So there is a sort of hierarchy. I don't know the details, obviously, because I'm not playing in the band. I have never played and never will. But the thing is, there is sort of Mr. Big Boss, Satyr, Frost being the drummer, and then the rest of the guys. And they might have or might not have a sort of hierarchy and all kind of stuff. And this is something that's been proven by people who have been sharing the backstage area, which is not, as I've been told, not so simple as it usually is, that just band members hanging out in the back and getting introduced to each other, drinking booze or whatnot, and having a conversation or just whatever. But they have this kind of thing going on that you cannot enter the same room in the backstage as Satyricon, two guys and all that stuff. So it's that all kind of weird thing, at least when it comes to being, humble in a kind of underground black metal where, well, one might debate that Satyricon hasn't been underground black metal for 20 years, and maybe that's true, but you get the idea. So one of the videos which actually is a funny thing and which you can still find on YouTube if you just Google it up or use YouTube search and type Satyricon backstage, and you can find this video where Satyr is actually sitting on this kind of a hairdresser seat of sorts, and then there is this hairdresser woman probably, and combing or brushing his hair, and he's having all this kind of a basic hairdresser, what it's called, a cloak or whatever. And it's kind of like hilarious. And this is actually a prank thing made another Norwegian band called, playing one of their riffs back in the early 2002 or something like that. And they're just basically filming Satyr's reaction to all of this. And you can find it just like I said. And the face and the impression is like, what the hell is going on? And so it's pretty kind of funny. It's not one of those stuff that is maybe taken too seriously. But then again, it's also what Satyr does when he does interviews. Like I was reading just a very recent interview about the latest album on Finnish Inferno magazine, and it was a pretty good damn interview, I must say, thanks to my colleague. But the thing is that there it sounds so goddamn serious. It's not like this old-fashioned black metal fanzine kind of thing where just people are like, yeah, let's drink lots of beer, it's leather and chains and spikes and all that stuff and skulls on a throne of Satan and all that stuff. But on the other hand, it's kind of all like elitistic. If you read between the lines, you can just basically hear these guys saying that we just put 110% on this album and it's like nobody else can do this kind of music because we are Satyricon and all that stuff. Basically being polite, but yet again there is this sort of level of elitism, in my opinion at least. And it all kind of is one of those stuff that actually builds upon how Satyricon is appearing on media. And it's kind of funny because there is also a little story about Frost. And if you can talk about having like a tone of voice in written text, Frost's the way of he expresses things and how he explains about playing drums and all that stuff, it's so much like more humble. It's like, sorry, I just play drums and all that stuff. I don't think about that much technicality. I just do my stuff and all that stuff. Meanwhile, Saturn is like, yeah, I am the one in Norway who basically invented black metal and that shit, you know. And this actually brings another story to me about Satyricon in early 2000 something. I'm not totally sure about the exact year, but something like 2000, 2002, somewhere there. And I remember watching this video which basically made my jaw drop to the floor. It was about Satyricon taking black metal to the United States of America. What? Yes, you heard me right. Satyricon taking black metal to the United States of America, because at least what I can remember from this interview, and somehow it has burned into my very hard drive on my brain. It was like something like he actually felt or seemed like he didn't know that black metal has been going on in the United States of America and Canada and all that stuff since like 1980s. It was like as if he was taking black metal, in like 2002 or something like that to the States, because black metal never existed there. What about bands like Von? What about bands like Blasphemy, like Black Funeral and all that, bands of old who've been doing their music since like early 1990s or even like late 1980s. It's like, man, you're something like 15 years late, maybe even more. I don't know how many originators actually created that kind of music in the 1980s, but I'm totally sure it happened way before 2002 or so. So it was like one of those weird things which already happened by the time they had like album number 4 out or whatever. So one of the interesting stories which I happened to gather on these comments on either of these Satyricon videos was one of the guys, a guitar player, who was actually trying to get the live spot on the Satyricon lineup when they were looking for a live guitarist. And this guy from France, he was practicing for it and booked some flights to go to Oslo or wherever they were residing at the time. And making sure that he was like the proper guy for the band and its line set up. So he didn't get proper information where this rehearsal place were located, but he eventually found the spot and everything went nice to that time. But the thing was, there was no even Satyr present. It's not like he cared that much than to come to this place, which sounds very weird to me, because I'm like, if I was looking guys to play live in my band, it's not like it's not even a matter of honor to me to be present there if I'm the leading man in the band. But it's not like I want to see it with my own eyes. I want to hear the playing with my own ears. Like what is going on with this guy? How can he handle the guitar or drums or whatever the instrument is? And how is he performing? How does he look like, sound like? I mean, talking. What is his expression? What is the general feeling of this guy or girl or whatever? But it seems like Satyr didn't give a shit. I mean, like, he didn't even show up. It was just Frost and some other basically session live players there, and they were going through the song. Can you play this? How can you talk? And blah blah blah. And it seems that one of the obstacles was that this guy wasn't fluent enough in English. It's like, what? I mean, come on, it's not like these live session members are the guys who are doing interviews. It's not like Satyr or Frost themselves are native English speaker more than me. It's like ridiculous kind of a thing, but that I would kind of understand compared to the very fact that the Mr. Main Man of the band wasn't even there. So, to be, short story, being short, he didn't get the place. But the background information, what I got from the story, sounds even more weird. But then again, it doesn't sound weird, when I've heard all the stories. And now one of the most kind of funny stories, which I remember from, I'm not totally sure about the year, but something like 2002, 2004, 2005, probably 2004 and 2005. That was when I was interviewing them back then. Just old tape player and kind of stuff, and they were really polite guys with me. There was no like weird ass behavior, nothing like rudeness, nothing like, oh, you're just some journalist douchebag and we are the band members. They were totally polite with me. The only thing which was weird, that Frost wouldn't take a glass of tap water from the bar because there were no other drinks available, which I was like, hey, I can get you something to drink if you want to, but no bottled water. But this is beside the point. It's not like these are the things. I'm just, trying to say that these guys can be polite. They probably are by nature polite, but the way of kind of these elitistic views when it happens to in interviews, or maybe when they're on stage, or backstage or whatever, that is when the weird things happen. And the funny thing was that when the guys were warming up for the gig, it was like Saturday was basically, and I'm not kidding you, I'm not exaggerating, but Saturday was basically teaching these guys how to mosh. Taking the mic stand. You gotta bang your head like this, not like that, This was like, dude, these are not like 12 years old players you have with the band. These are more or less seasoned, guitarists or bass players or just whatever. And you need to teach them how to bang their head properly. Of course, they had long hair. I don't anymore. But the thing is, like, wow, what the hell? No, but the thing here with the story wasn't the funny part. It was like, yes, we laughed at it, but the one thing that happened later on, and by the way, before I forget, I must mention, they actually invited me to come to the tour bus after the very gig, because Fuel for Hatred, and this should probably tell you about the year. I don't remember, I didn't even bother to check it out because it doesn't matter. For me, they offered to come to the tour bus, to check their Fuel for Hatred video, which was just recently came out. And I hadn't seen it before the interview. They were actually asking me what did I like about it, but back then, no idea what it was going on, and they told me, yeah, you should come to our tour bus and blah blah blah. And actually, I was waiting at the venue after the gig ended, but then I just kind of got bored and thought that they probably totally forgot about me, and I was probably right. I don't know. I just, when I was coming home, I saw that, okay, the tour bus is coming, but I didn't go there back. But the funny thing is, which happened and which kind of makes me regret I didn't go to tour bus, was that there was this good friend of mine who has always taken black metal very, very seriously. I'm not just like, I can kid around, but he's not one of those guys who just kids around with black metal, who he so greatly loves. Back then, he had this very, very beautiful girlfriend, shy but very beautiful, and he got totally upset when he heard from his girlfriend back then that some guys from Satyricon tour, whatever guys, crew members, apprehended this girlfriend of his, and offered to take her backstage to entertain the band. And then they had fruits in a basket, some chocolate or candies and red wine or whatnot. And to me, this was like, what the hell is going on? These crew members are like basically trying to pick up girls to be taken backstage so they can entertain these guys. I don't know if it meant like, or just something else, maybe just, the guys to be pampered with the beauty of women or whatever, but it felt awkward. But my friend, like I said, he was taking so seriously about all things happened to black metal, and he swore to me that after this gig, when he got home, he would just, take the Satyricon LPs and crash them all the way, because he wouldn't tolerate this kind of bullshit. He wouldn't tolerate this kind of behavior from the guys who were barely older than him, but who he had, looked upon as a kind of a masters of Norwegian black metal, among other bands such as Dark Throne Mayhem and whatnot. So he had the vision of these guys being like respectable and, full of honor and, guys to be taken seriously. And yet he felt basically like backstabbed because of these guys. Like, hey, wanna get backstage? We got some fruits, we got some chocolate, again red wine, and who knows maybe what happens. I don't know. I don't actually remember, or I'm not sure if he ever told me if he just broke the LPs or whatnot. Maybe he sold them, but then again, he's just a man of principle who could just basically, spend 200 euros, just do it that instead of selling them on eBay. I don't know. But anyway, I know this video is getting way too long. There's lots of other stories which might get back into my brain later on. Probably not, since some of those are really old. But I gotta say, this is one of a kind band. It's a kind of a funny band, but in a kind of an ironic way. It's not a band of which is having those Christmas costumes on, like what Dimmu Borgir had, I don't know, late 90s on a magazine, But Satyricon, it feels like they're taking themselves so seriously, yet they manage to look like fools, or at least some kind of absurd joke in the terms of black metal, that I don't anymore, get surprised if these guys do weird things, if they act like total egomaniacs, because it just had blown my mind so many times. And one last thing which I remember, which created lots of funny commentating on social media back then when it was released, was that when Satyr actually announced or released, his line of wine, red wine and stuff like that, is Von Graven. And those pictures, those promotional pictures of him having this glass of red wine and, bottle of his own red wine, they were like, guys, seriously? Seriously? Like, what the hell? So, next time you think of Nergal of Behemoth being the X Factor or Talent Poland or whatever, that you remember, and you think that is weird, or guys doing weird commercial shit, think of Satyricon, think of this video and just his tiny little stories, and everything seems to be pretty normal. Okay, that's for all this time. There's lots of nonsense here going on. Nobody will watch it anymore, me talking with this monologue. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any further Satyricon stories you wish to tell me, please do. But remind this, because this is one that I forgot. If you're gonna criticize the band, don't do it on their social media. One of the commentators on my videos told me that he or she got actually banned from the Satyricon Facebook page because he or she was basically telling that he didn't like this album very much, Deep Call Upon Deep. I don't know what exact words were used, but the thing is that you cannot criticize bands such as Satyricon or you will get banned. So put that in your pretty little head, and next time you criticize Satyricon, do it in private or face the consequences. That's all from me right now. Please click like or dislike and comment and tell me that I'm about off or whatever. I'm more than happy to hear your thoughts about Satyricon, this video and whatnot. And if you did like this, go click subscribe somewhere there or here or whatever button is located. I'm Jerry and this is Rauta. Stay metal. Let's see you on another video later on. That's all. Bye.